Krishna Chaitanya.
Thank you. So because singing's banned, I'll read a song. Which is just as well because I'm not very good at singing anyhow. So. Okay, so you may be familiar with this song. It's called Dalalaya Gita, the song of the broker. Sometimes devotees just refer to it as Koda Nitai. It's a really nice song. I remember the first time I heard it, Bhakti Churu Maharaj was singing it. It was quite, I never heard anything like it before. It's quite a remarkable song actually. And I thought, the first time I heard it, I thought he was singing Gora Nitai, Gora Nitai. It was actually Koda Nitai. But, yeah. So this is from a book of prayers called Vaishnav Siddhanta Mala. And I'll just go through it verse by verse, and then I'll read some from the CC. So there's Bora Sukha Kabagai, Surabi Kunjeti, Nama Hat Kuleche, and then the refrain is Koda Nitai, Koda Nitai. I am singing news of great happiness at the place known as Surabi Kunj in Sri Navadvip. The marketplace of the holy name has now been opened, and Lord Nityananda himself is the proprietor. So as we know, Surabi Kunj, that is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur called his house. And that was the marketplace of the holy name. And what happens at the marketplace? You sell and buy things, yeah. So and what was the product there? The holy name. But what was the price? We'll find out in a minute. Bora moja katatai, sharamulya shudanam se hatete bikai. Such wonderful things are going on in that blissful marketplace. It's not just, I don't know if you've ever been to marketplaces, but they're not normally blissful places. They're usually noisy and people are harassing and stuff like that, very passionate usually. But here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying, such wonderful things are going on in that blissful marketplace. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is selling the pure holy name. And what was the price he was asking? Yeah, merely just asking for one's faith. You just have faith in the holy name. It's Shraddha Mulya, that's the price, this Shraddha, just faith. Jata Bhakti Brindabasi, Jata Bhakti Brindabasi. Adhikari Dekhe Nam, Beche Koradashi, Beche Darokasi. Seeing the assembly of devotees eagerly waiting to purchase the name, Lord Nityananda first examines each of them to test their qualification. Then he sells them the name by bargaining for his price accordingly. So he's haggling with devotees, you know. Jati nam kinbe bai, jati nam kinbe bai, ama sangha chalo mahajane kache jai. Oh my dear friends, if you really want to buy this pure holy name, then just come along with me, for now I am going to meet with this Nityananda Mahajan. So this is quite an interesting statement here, because in Bhaktivinoda Thakur he's taking the role of the position of guru, and then he's kind of, because they're not just songs. Even though like Bhaktivinoda Thakur he would use popular tunes at the time to popularize his songs, because people didn't have a lot of discrimination, so he would just use popular tunes that people were singing anyhow and put his songs to popular tunes, so then people would start singing them. But if you read the words, you can see there's very deep philosophy in the words of his songs. And we see here now, he's talking about, okay, he's taking the role of guru, and he says, come along with me, I'm going to go and meet Nityananda, because I know him. And we actually understand that what's that, Kintu Prabhu ya priya eva tasya. Yeah? This line from Vishnu Thakur is pointing out how the spiritual master is very dear to Lord Krishna. So this is the role also Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's very dear to Nityananda because of this. He's taken this position of giving his life to preach the glories of the Lord, to canvass. Prabhupada uses this term regularly, to canvass on Krishna's behalf. So because the Guru has given his life to canvass on Krishna's behalf, he may not have any other wonderful qualifications. It's not like the Guru walks on water or he touches your head and you get some electric shock kind of thing or anything like that. No, because but he may have wonderful qualifications. It doesn't really matter. But the real point there is he's actually given his life. Not that he just does things casually from time to time, but he's given his life completely to canvass on Krishna's behalf. This is his qualification. This is the main qualification of the Guru, is that he's given his life to canvass on Krishna's behalf. Therefore, this Kintu Prabhu ya priya eva tasya, certainly he's very dear to Krishna because of this sacrifice he's making. Because if you look in this world, what are people using their lives for? They're using their lives generally to enjoy themselves as much as they can, separate from Krishna. But one who takes the role of Guru, he's actually made that sacrifice. He's giving up everything for the pleasure of Krishna. And in this way, Krishna becomes indebted to that person because he's giving up everything for the pleasure of Krishna. And Krishna, he also makes this statement in the Gita, that if you simply give your life to me, you become very dear to me. What's that, 1865, where he explains to Arjuna, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage to me, thus you will come to me without fail. You do these things, you sacrifice everything for me, I'll take care of you. And then the next verse he says, Ma suchaha, do not fear. I was listening to a class by Kripa Mohaprabhu. I don't know if any of you know Kripa Mohaprabhu. He's from Bhaktivinoda. Well, he's not from. He lives in the UK. He's a very extraordinary preacher. He's the. I think he's the head of the. I don't know if he likes the idea of position or anything, but I think he's the head of Namhat preaching in the UK, and he's just given his life to that for years and years and years. He's a very, very successful preacher, and very, very. That bhajan you heard when he came to the room was Kripa Mohaprabhu. And what's my point? Oh yeah, he was telling this story about because he in his younger days he used to visit India quite a lot and go on pilgrimage to different holy places, and he talking about this one temple he went to where this deity, oftentimes the deities in India, especially the older temples, they have this abhay mudra where they're giving a blessing, and one temple he visited, the deity had like this they usually put a gold sort of cover over the hand. In Los Angeles I've seen Radharani, she has the same thing, she has this gold cover over her hand with diamonds and jewels and things on it. So anyhow, this deity he saw had this gold cover with diamonds and written, actually rubies, and then written in diamonds on the hand was Ma Suchaha, do not fear. He's giving this blessing, do not fear. So Krishna makes this point in the Gita, if you just give up everything, you surrender to me, don't fear, I'll look after you. But then the process that's described in the Gita is quite complicated. Abandon all varieties of religion, surrender unto me. Just give up everything and surrender to Krishna. Sounds easy, but is it easy? We've been trying for a while. We're still, at least me, I know, I'm still struggling with it. I've got all these ideas. But the point that's being made here by Bhaktivinoda Thakur is, I'll take you to Nityananda. He's my friend. He'll look after you. Don't worry. So he's presenting, he's identifying the necessity of accepting a guru, and he himself is the guru. And he says, because the guru has this access to Nityananda, and Nityananda has access to Huh? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the system. You go via the Guru Parampara. And then you actually achieve the goal. And this is the point he's saying here, is for now, come along with me, because I'm going to meet this Nityananda Mahajan. I'm going to meet him now. Tumi kinbe Krishnanam, Tumi kinbe Krishnanam, Dastari loibo ami puna habekam. Thus you will be able to acquire the pure holy name. Just by meeting with Nityananda Prabhu, you'll be able to acquire the pure holy name. I will also take my due commission, and in this way, all three of us will fill our desires. So it's really interesting how he uses this concept of the marketplace of the holy name, because in material life, everyone's interested in going to the marketplace and doing some business and making some profit, because in the marketplace you buy and sell. You buy because you need something, you sell so you can make a profit. And he's still talking about this. It's like, I'll take you there, you'll meet Nityananda Prabhu, you'll get benefit, but I'll also get benefit by introducing you to Nityananda. So he's saying, I take my commission. So because, and this is the situation of the Guru, is because the Guru is giving his life to canvas on Krishna's behalf, he's giving his life to bring people to Krishna consciousness, then he's also getting benefit from that. And we see that in the Nectar of Devotion, there's an interesting description there about the 9 processes of bhakti and how different persons achieve perfection through the 9 processes of bhakti. Like Prahlad Maharaj with prayers, and I can't remember all of them offhand right now, but we see that they all achieved perfection in different ways. And the thing is, we see here that he's saying that I'll take my due commission. I'll get benefit also. It's not like he's going there with this this bainya, this mercantile kind of approach. But he's saying that everyone who contacts the process, this is the amazing nature of the process of bhakti, that anyone who has any contact with it benefits. No matter where you contact, no matter how you contact, you benefit. Even like people when they come here and they deliver things to the deities, they're getting benefit. I can't remember the distance, but it's said that anyone who comes within a certain distance of a Radha Krishna temple, I think it's like it's kilometers, it's quite a distance, gets benefit. So you think of it, here we are sitting on the corner of Falcon and Miller Street, a very, very busy intersection. Every day, thousands of cars up and down, up and down, up and down, driving right past Radha Gopinath, Jagannath Bala Subhadra and Gaura Nitai. The benefit's just incredible. Or there's a train line that goes from Calcutta to Delhi, actually from Puri to Calcutta to Delhi. And every day, hundreds of trains are going along that line from Calcutta to Delhi. But interestingly enough, that train line passes through Mathura. So all those people who are travelling backwards and forwards from Calcutta to Delhi are going through Mathura Dham. So they get unimaginable, immeasurable benefit from that. It's the same as these people driving past this temple. This is a dham. This is the place where the Lord resides. Who said, I think it was a Dvaita Acharya, he said to Lord Chaitanya, he says, my dear Lord, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. So here we see, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is on the altar, Radha Krishna on the altar, Jagannath Bala Subhadra on the altar. This is the dham. And these people are driving through the dham. So they get immense benefit. Boro Doyal Nityananda, Boro Doyal Nityananda, Shada Matra Loye Den Parama Ananda. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is so extraordinarily merciful, except in only one's faith in the holy name, he bestows the topmost divine bliss. So that he's reiterating this point from before, that simply through faith, that's the price that's being asked, but simply by faith, if you just have faith in this holy name, Nityananda Prabhu will bestow the topmost bliss upon you. So this helps us to understand Nityananda's nature. He's very, very... There's two things. It's like there's compassion and there's mercy. So not only he's very, very compassionate, he's very merciful. An interesting example you could use to understand this. If you see someone drowning in a river, right, or in Sydney Harbour, for instance, because it's very nearby, And you look at that person, you think, oh, that's horrible. You know, you feel for them. What's that? Compassion, right? But then, if you do something, if you throw them a life preserver or you jump in and drag them out, what's that? That's mercy. And that's what Nityananda's doing. He's not only is he feeling compassion upon the living entities, but he's actually doing something to drag us out of this ocean of the material energy. He's giving us the holy name, and he's very vigorously and actively distributing that holy name. From them, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is using this wonderful analogy of the blissful marketplace, the holy name. And when you come into contact with Nityananda Prabhu through the mercy of Guru, through the mercy of the Vaishnavas, then Lord Nityananda, he'll bestow the topmost divine bliss upon us all. Ek bar dekle chakle jal, ek bar dekle chakshe jal, gora bole nitai den sakale sambal. When Nityananda sees a tear welling in someone's eye upon chanting the name of Gora, he instantly gives his support to that person. Indeed, he bestows all divine opulences. So, sometimes, when we're in kirtans, especially when, we're not having too many kirtans right now, but sometimes we have these kirtans and they're very, uproarious. And devotees are chanting, they're chanting out Gora Hari, Gora Hari, and sometimes we see devotees get very emotionally surcharged. So we can understand that Nityananda, he's present there and he's bestowing his mercy upon that devotee at that time. And actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says he bestows all divine opulences. It doesn't mean you get jewels and money and stuff like that, but actually you get the benefit of the process of bhakti. You actually start to develop this love of Krishna. Den Shuddha Krishna Shiksha, Den Shuddha Krishna Shiksha. Jati Dan Vidya Bale Na Kore Apeksha. So this is a very interesting verse. He gives that person genuine realization of the pure teachings of Sri Krishna as found in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it says Den Shuddha Krishna Shiksha. Shuddha means pure. And like den, like Tao he's giving, so den's a little bit more refined. So den Shuddha and Krishna Shiksha, what does that mean? Instructions about, Krishna's teachings, instructions about Krishna. But he gives the pure teachings, not some watered down, corrupted teaching. It's the pure teaching. It's the essence of the teachings of Krishna. And then he goes on to say, Jati, Dhan, Vidya, Bhale. Na Korea Pekka. That it doesn't matter. He's displaying this inconceivable mercy, but he's not paying attention to one's jati, one's caste, one's learning, or dhan, material wealth, vidya, one's learning, and bala, physical ability or strength. No interest at all. It says Na Korea Pekka. He doesn't care for this at all. And this is the nature of the process of Krishna consciousness. There's no prerequisite at all for taking to Krishna consciousness. The only prerequisite Nityananda is asking for is some faith. Doesn't matter where you come from, what your capacity is. You can be a completely useless person. You can be a very talented person. It doesn't matter. You can be very smart. You can be very stupid, very strong, very weak. It's of no consequence whatsoever. The only thing he's asking is you have some faith. Amanichare maya jalan, amanichare maya jal, grihe tako bane tako, na take janjal. Now, dear friends, please reject all of Maya's entangling snares. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, okay, now you come into contact with Nityananda, give all this up. And it's not just you come into contact with Nityananda, it's all, No, you have to actually do something. So he's saying, give it up. Please reject all of Maya's entangling snares. If you're a householder, then just remain at your home. If you're renounced, then just live in the forest. Either way, nothing more will trouble you. So this is the same as that instruction of Lord Chaitanya when he met Koma Brahmana. Because he wanted to leave home and travel with Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya responded, no, he says, Yare dekhetare kare Krishna Vadesha Mara Gai Gu Haratare Desh. It doesn't matter your position. Whomever you meet, You instruct them in the science of Krishna. So this is a very important point. It is in order to become advanced or in order to be advanced in Krishna consciousness, your ashram is of no relevance. What body you have is of no relevance, whether you're a male, female, whatever, it doesn't matter. And we see even in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with some of Mahaprabhu's associates, we see like when Mahaprabhu was traveling through Jharkhand, the animals were chanting and dancing in ecstasy through associating with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Puri, and was it Murari Gupta? I think he had a dog. There's a dog who followed him, and the dog came before Lord Chaitanya. The devotees were feeling a little bit bad about that. They thought, "Oh, this is not right that a dog should come before the Lord." But Lord Chaitanya corrected him. He said, "No, he's also a spirit soul." And actually, Lord Chaitanya got him to chant the names of the Lord. His dog was chanting. So we can see. I mean, obviously, that's not something we're probably going to be able to do, is get dogs chanting Hare Krishna. But we can see that the power of bhakti, the power of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so potent that it doesn't matter what form the living entity takes. There's even stories of Narad Muni, I think it was Narad Muni, initiated a cobra. And gave him instruction in the process of bhakti. And then so he became a pacifist, and then because he was known as a devotee, they understood devotees weren't, aggressive or anything like that. And the snake's business is, what snakes do, they bite and things like that. And so he went to Narad Muni, he said, "But Narad Muni, now that I've become a devotee, this is not a good thing, because now the children are hitting me with sticks and throwing stones at me and things like that." And Narad Muni said, "That's okay, just show your hood, and bare your fangs, and they'll go away." So he started doing that. He just rear up and show his hood, and they'd all run away. And Rasikananda, I don't know if you know about Rasikananda Thakur. He was an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He initiated an elephant. This elephant had gone mad, it was just trampling in villages and killing people and stuff like that. And Nityananda just came and touched the elephant's head. Rasikananda came and touched the elephant's head. And there was this king who was envious, and the king was sort of was sent, suggested that Rasikananda go there, because the king was hoping the elephant would kill him. But Rasikananda went there, and the elephant saw him and came towards him. And then Rasikananda touched him on the head, and the elephant became passive. From memory, I think he paid his obeisances to Rasikananda. And then Rasikananda gave him instruction, initiated him, and told him not to behave like this. He also initiated a tiger. So we can see the potency of the pure holy name is extraordinary. And as Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying here, it doesn't matter what your position is. You can have any type of body, but if you just take to this process of bhakti, especially this chanting of Hare Krishna, then all your troubles will cease. Nothing more will trouble you. Aranaike kalaboy, Aranaike kalaboy. Achandali den nam nitai doyamoy. We no longer need to fear the terrible age of quarrel. And you don't have to look very hard in this day and age to understand how difficult this age is. Isn't it? I mean, what's been going on for the past 12 months? Just last year alone, 1.8 million people died from coronavirus. 83 or 85 million people were infected with it. Just last year alone. And it's still going on. People are still dying. People are still getting infected. And people are so fearful of it. They're so fearful. The governments are so fearful of this virus spreading. They shut the borders down. You can't travel. You can't do the things you're so accustomed to doing. In some places, we've seen in Europe and places like that, people couldn't even leave their homes for no reason at all, because they're so fearful of this virus. And this is the nature of this age. It's a terrible age. The age of Kali is a terrible age. But there is one, as we see, is Asti Hieko Mahan Gunad. There's one great quality, this Mahad Gunan. Kirtana Deva Krishna Shah Mukta Sangha Parambrajat. That simply by chanting the name of Krishna, Mukta Sangha Parambrajat, they want to become liberated from the most abominable situation. And that's the point that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was making. This is the point that he's saying about Nityananda, is you simply take this holy name and you'll overcome this dreadful age of Kali. You'll know, and he says, nothing more will trouble you. And we all experience this practically when we come to the process of bhakti. We all experience this practically. That all these troubles we had before, all these concerns about this thing, that thing, they just like vaporize. They just disappear. Just through the process of bhakti. This is the mercy of Nityananda. We no longer need to fear the terrible age of quarrel, for the most merciful Lord Nityananda gives the holy name to anyone and everyone, even to the lowest among men. And I think, if we look at our positions, at least I can say from my perspective, that before coming into contact with Krishna consciousness, I was certainly the lowest among men. Just looking at my background and the things I used to do. Then he says, Bhakti vino dake koi, nitai charan bina a nahi ashroy. Koda nitai. Bhaktivinoda Thakur loudly calls out and proclaims to all, other than the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, there is no other shelter. So he's making that point very, very strongly. Now there's another point here I wanted to mention, but I missed it somewhere. Someone got a phone on the altar? Sounds like it. Huh? Still phone on the altar. Not something I'd recommend. There's one point here where he's talking about, this is in the second verse here. Such wonderful things are going on in that blissful marketplace. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is selling the pure holy name wholesale, merely for the price of one's faith. Now what does that tell us? He's saying he's selling the price wholesale, selling the holy name wholesale. What does that tell us? What do you think? When you go to a wholesaler, what do you do? Buy in bulk. Why? But cheaper. What do you generally do? From wholesale, what's the next step in the chain? Retail. So then, what does that tell you? We need to do. He's giving us the name wholesale. We should be the retailer. Huh? So it's a very, very important point. So, like I said, there's lots of amazing instructions in this song. That's why I wanted to share it with you. I thought it was quite a pertinent song to discuss today. What time are we supposed to conclude? 8:30. Okay, good. So what I'll do is I'll read a little bit from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, there's, as you're probably aware, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's wrong. As you're probably aware, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the first 14 verses are actually focusing on glorifying the Absolute Truth. And so I think from, you've got the, what they call the Mangalacharana, which is the first few verses. And then there's verses that glorify Lord Chaitanya. And then there's 5 verses from 7 to 11 that glorify Nityananda. And then there's 2 or 3 verses that are glorifying Advaita Acharya, and the last few verses are talking about the Panchatattva in general. So, now I'll just read these verses. The first one, text 7, is, and this is a well-known verse in Mayapur that every year when they do the Pushpanjali, they'll chant this verse. Sankashana karana toya shayi gabada shayi chapayev dashi sheshasya yasyangsha kala sanitya nandakya rama sharanam mamastu. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankashan, Sheshanaga, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean, an ocean of milk are his plenary portions and portions of his plenary portions. So we see that Krishna, he manifests himself in 4 forms. You remember those forms? The Chatavyuha, Vasudeva, Sankashan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So that's Krishna, Balaram, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. That Sankashan, that's Nityananda. and he's manifesting himself as Sankarshan. Yeah? And then from that Sankarshan, because we actually understand that from the first Chatavyuha, Sankarshan expands himself as a second Chatavyuha. Same thing, Baladev, Krishna, Balaram, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And from that second Chatavyuha come all the other expansions, comes, there's a step in between called Maha Sankarshan, from him he expands. But the Purusha avatars come from that. All the different Leela avatars enter into the material world through Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. Everything comes from that expansion. So ultimately, it's all coming from Nityananda or Balaram. Mayatiti vyapi vaikunta loke punaishvarya shri chata vyuhamadye rupam yashod bhati sankarshanakyam tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Pravadye. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshan in the middle of the Chatavyuha, consisting of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Loka, far beyond the material creation. Maya Bhata Janda Sangha Shrayananga Shete Shakshad Karambodhi Madhye Yashay Kangsha Shipam Madhidevas Tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Pravadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose partial representation called Karanakshayi Vishnu, lying on the Karana ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy and the shelter of all the universes. So the Purusha avatars, they expand from this second. I just said the name and I forgot it. The second Chatavyuha, the quadruple expansions. Yashang Sangsha Shilagavadashi Yannabhyabjam Loka Sangatanalam Loka Shastu Sutikadambadatus Tam Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is Garbhadakshayi Vishnu. So we understand from Karanakshayi Vishnu comes Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, from Garbhadakshayi Vishnu comes Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. So they're expanding. From the navel of Garbhadakshayi Vishnu sprouts the lotus, that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitude of planets. So we see, Nityananda expands as this Chatavyuha, and then from that comes the second Chatavyuha, and from Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, the Purusha avatars come from Chatavyuha, then from Garbhadakshayi Vishnu comes the lotus, Brahma is born on the lotus, then all the universes manifest from that. In the lotus manifests the universe, and then Brahma populates the universes. And the universe actually expand out from the lotus as well. Yashyang shang shang sha parat makilanam Poshta Vishnu Bhati Dugdha Dishai Choni Bharte Yakala So Pyanantas Tang Sri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. That Kshirodakshayi Vishnu is the super soul of all living entities and the maintainer of all universes. Seshanaga is his further sub-part. So we see, it's interesting here also, I'll read about this in a minute, how we see how Nityananda is expanding, or Balaram is expanding in so many ways, and then it's saying here that Seshanaga is his further sub-part. But Seshanaga is also an expansion of Anantashesh. Who's Anantashesh? Nityananda Ram. So he's seeing how he's in so many different ways he's serving Krishna. And this is the point I want to read from here in the this is Adi Lila chapter 5 is called The Glories of Nityananda Ram. So it's if you want to read something really interesting today, I encourage you to read this chapter, because it's some parts are very, very philosophical and a little bit, at least for me, it's hard to digest. But it's quite amazing. Where is the verse I'm looking for? That's how good material energy, material memory is. You think you've got the verse number down, you walk down and look at it and you can't remember it. It's talking about Nityananda serving. Oh, here we go. I got it. 123, which is what I thought it was. I didn't read it before. Okay, so I'll just read a few preceding verses. Unable to see him, the demigods go to the bank of the ocean of milk and offer prayers to him. Then he descends to maintain the material world. His unlimited opulences cannot be counted. That Lord Vishnu is but a part of the plenary portion of Lord Nityananda, who is the source of all incarnations. That same Lord Vishnu is the form of Lord Shesha. That same Lord Vishnu, in the form of Lord Shesha, holds the planets upon his heads, although he does not know where they are, for he cannot feel their existence upon his heads. So this is Nityananda manifesting as Lord Shesha. He's holding the universes on his head, and he can't feel them because they're so tiny. Can you imagine that? I mean, how big are the universes? How heavy are the universes? I mean, you can imagine, like even a simple thing like holding a brick on your head for half an hour or something. You know, it'd start to weigh down on you. You'd start to feel the weight of it. You know? Let alone something like this building. But he's holding all the universes on his head, and he can't feel them. They're so insignificant. So it just gives you an idea of like, you know, because often, you know, we hear, you know, the descriptions of God as being great, powerful, things like this. But this is just trying to give us an understanding of how great and powerful God is, because everything material that you can imagine and bring together in one place is insignificant. It's so insignificant, if it's on his head, he doesn't even feel it. Just like, you know, you've got a flake of dandruff or something on your head. Do you feel it? Do you know it's there? It's nothing to you. Yeah? So this is the power of God. His thousands of extended, and that's just on one hood, and it says here, his thousands of extended hoods are adorned with dazzling jewels surpassing the sun. The universe, which measures 500 million yojanas in diameters, rests on one of his hoods like a mustard seed. So 500 million yojanas, how big is that? How much is a yojana? 8 miles. So 500 million means 4 billion. Right? 4 billion miles wide. It's resting on his head, and he doesn't even feel it. It just gives you... I mean, it's really about just trying to give you a sense of how powerful God is and how insignificant the material nature is in comparison to God. It's just so... And yet, here we are in this material world, yeah, thinking we're so powerful, thinking we're so wonderful, thinking we're doing all these amazing things. From the transcendental perspective, it's nothing. And that's part of the reason why these things are described to us. That Ananta Shesh is the devotee incarnation of Godhead. He knows nothing but service to Lord Krishna. So this is talking about Nityananda. He knows nothing but service to Lord Krishna. And therefore he's known as the Supreme Personality of server to Godhead. Yeah? And I'll read another verse later on, but to reinforce this. With his thousands of mouths he sings the glories of Lord Krishna, but although he always sings in that way, he does not find an end to the qualities of the Lord. So we see how, you know, Ananta Shesh, he's got unlimited mouths. It says here thousands, other places it says unlimited. And he's singing the glories of Krishna eternally, but he never gets to an end. So again, we see different ways of helping us to understand the nature of God. You know, one way is talking about he's got the universes sitting on his hoods, you know, and one of the universes is 4 billion miles across, right? And he doesn't even know it's there. It's just like like I said, like a flake of dandruff or something sitting on his head. He doesn't even know it's there. And he's got thousands of mouths, and he's singing Krishna's glories eternally, and he never gets to the end of them. So how great is Krishna? How many glories does he have? And Anantashesha has been chanting them for millions and millions and millions of years, and he never reaches the end of it. That's because his glories are unlimited, but also because he's constantly expanding. What do we know that's constantly expanding in this world? Anything? There's nothing. It's all constantly diminishing. Everything's reducing. You know? Our duration of life, our bodies, the planet, everything. It's always shrinking. Here we see here it's being described that he doesn't find an end to the qualities of the Lord. The four Kumaras hear Srimad Bhagavatam from his lips, and they in turn repeat it in the transcendental bliss of love of Godhead. He serves Lord Krishna assuming all the following forms: umbrella, slippers, bedding, pillow, garments, resting chair, residence. We're in the residence, yeah. Sacred thread and throne. So he's serving Krishna assuming all these forms. So it helps us to understand the transcendental nature of everything that we're having contact with. And he's serving Krishna because Lord Anantashesha or Nityananda takes on these forms. And it's just like when I train devotees in bog offering, things like that, I point out with the asan where the deity sits, you should never step over that or step on that, touch it with your foot, because that's Balaram. That you're saying here, his Vasasan. Oh, that's the garments. Where are we? Singhasan. Yeah, it says the last word, Singhasan, the throne, the place where he sits. Yeah? Is a manifestation of Lord Balaram. And so many different ways he serves. He is thus called Lord Shesha, for he has attained the ultimate end of servitude to Krishna. He takes many forms for the service of Krishna, and thus he serves the Lord. That person of whom Lord Ananta is a kala, or a part of a plenary part, is Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Who therefore can know the pastimes of Lord Nityananda? So Krishnadas Kaviraj is making the point here that Lord Ananta, who's this wonderful, glorious person who's got the universe is sitting on his head, who's chanting the glories of the Lord, and who expands himself in so many ways to serve the Supreme Person of Godhead, is but a part of a plenary portion of Nityananda. So Ananta is so great, and a part, not the whole, but a part of a plenary portion. This is, how great is Nityananda? We cannot understand how great Lord Nityananda is. And as we're reading from this song from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that personality who's being described here, Nityananda Prabhu, he's come to this material world to give us the process of Krishna consciousness in such an easy and acceptable and digestible way. Yeah? All you need is a tongue, and you can chant the whole. You don't need to have any great qualification. All you need is a tongue, and you can chant the holy names of Krishna. And Nityananda is freely distributing these things in the marketplace of the holy name. There's another interesting verse I just wanted to read, and then I think I'll probably wind up. Maybe we can have some discussion, and you could share some of your appreciations of Lord Nityananda. And this is a fairly well-known verse. Here it is. This is verse 142 from chapter 5. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabhya Brita Yare Yaichi Nachai Se Taichi Kara Nitya. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. He makes them dance. They dance as he makes them do so. So this is also a very, very important point to understand, that actually Krishna's position is he is the only enjoyer. It's really loud. Is that normal? On the altar, they're so loud. Hari Bol on the altar, please be quiet. So the point is that Krishna, he's the only supreme controller. It says Ekale this ekala means alone or one. He's the one supreme controller. Yeah? And others are his servants. Yeah? And he dances as they make they all dance as he makes them do so. And so he's not just he's not just talking about the jivas. He's talking about all forms of Godhead. And if you analyze it, if you look at all the different forms of Godhead that are there, and starting with Nityananda Ram, he's taking the role of servant. You look at the Purusha avatars; they're serving. By Karandakshay Vishnu, he expands the universes. Gavadakshay Vishnu, he enters into the universes and populates the universe. Chiradakshay Vishnu, he's the form of Godhead in the universe, who's all the incarnations are expanding into the universe through him, etc. So we see how, in every way, every form of Godhead, except Krishna, takes on this role of service. But Krishna himself is the supreme Godhead. He's the supreme enjoyer. And all others are his servants. And this is the point here, is Nityananda is taking this role of service. He's in every way, he's just, acting to serve Krishna. And we see that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Puri, and each year the devotees would come from West Bengal to visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one year he gave Nityananda the instruction is that you shouldn't come here again, but you should go back to West Bengal and you should just distribute the holy name. So he was asking Nityananda to take this role of being the guru and distribute Krishna consciousness to others. So Nityananda did that. I think he came once or twice more, but generally speaking he would not do that. And rather he just took this role, like he was basically, Mahaprabhu was saying, don't try to enjoy the process of bhakti, but distribute it to others. And that's our role also. It's not that we try to enjoy the process of bhakti, but we take this mood of distributing the process of bhakti to others. So yeah, some wonderful verses here. And of course we could go on more and more and more, but yeah, I can finish there. Any reflections or thoughts on Nityananda Prabhu? Yeah, Prabhu.
I was just recently reading the Charitamrita that Lord Balaram appears in dual forms, as Vishwarupa also, and as Lord Nityananda. And in the time of the disappearance, Vishwarupa merges into Lord Nityananda. So I was wondering, is there significance specifically that Balaram appearing in two glorious forms in the Charitamrita, where we see Krishna just Balaram himself and then
Well, Vishwarup was Mahaprabhu's elder brother. Yeah. So he took the same kind of mood, if you like, and he came to pave the way for Lord Chaitanya to appear. But then we see like Vishwarup's kind of pastimes were not so prominent as, say, for instance, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Nityananda Prabhu. He was there for some time, but then he left home to take sannyas, and there's not much known more about him than that. That he disappeared apparently not after a very long time. And I think was it Nityananda Prabhu was actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was trying to find his brother, but then I think Nityananda Prabhu sort of told him something about later on. I can't remember the whole story, but yeah. What was the second part of your question?
What's really the significance that we see appearance as Vishnu and as Lord Nityananda in one look? We don't see that in Krishna Lila or Ramachandra Lila and Lord Balaram appearance multiple. Is there like a significance that we know about this?
I'm sure there is, but I don't know it. I mean, everything the Lord does has significance. He doesn't just do things that have no meaning. So I'm sure there is a meaning, but I don't know it. But then you see in like say for instance in Krishna's pastimes, Balaram was the older brother, and then in Gaur Lila he saw Nityananda as his older brother, but in Ram Lila, Ram was the elder. So it's not always the same. There's always variations and differences and things like that. But then Gaur Lila is very, very closely connected with Krishna Lila, so I imagine that would be some reason, why the similarity is there. But yeah, I personally haven't read anything about it. Has anyone else read anything in regard to that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that could be because he didn't want to be separated, so he manifested a Vishwarup then later as Nityananda. That could be part of the reason. Yeah. Thank you. Any other comment, question, anything like that, Prabhu? To have faith in the holy name. Yeah, faith has many gradations, but also different explanations. And I've read Prabhupada explaining that faith just means that, like, your conviction, that you're convinced, not that it's just like, oh, I've got a little bit of faith, but it's weak, and it can, Prabhupada points out, it means you're convinced. So faith in the holy name means that we're convinced that this is the means of deliverance. And if you're convinced, just like, if you like, I don't know, you're in a calamitous situation, you might be in a burning house, and you're convinced if I do something it'll save me. You really give that a lot of effort, you really put your heart and soul into doing that, because you're convinced this is the only way of saving me. So we need to develop that same kind of conviction, that same faith in the holy name, that this is the only means to save me. Mahaprabhu said, Nasti eva, Nasti eva, Nasti eva gatiranyata. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way that you can save yourself in this age than chanting the holy names. But do we have that conviction? That's what we have to look at, is do we have that conviction? In my case, I'd say no. I don't have that conviction yet. I'm working on it, but I don't have it yet. So faith means that. You have to have faith that the pure holy name will deliver me to the lotus feet of Krishna, and it's the only thing that will deliver me to the lotus feet of Krishna. Not that, oh, maybe I can do a bit of this, and maybe I can do a bit of that, and maybe I can, become a scholar, or maybe I can become, a great kirtan leader, or whatever. No, we just have that faith that the only thing that can deliver me to the lotus feet of Krishna is the pure holy name. And therefore we take it as a life and soul. Prabhupada sometimes he would say, you chant the holy name just like a child crying out for its mother. So I don't know, as a brahmachari, maybe you don't see that so often. But, when children, when they're distressed or whatever, and they're because where I live in New Govardhan, we've got grihastas all around us, so, I'm also a grihasta, so I guess that's normal. And you see when the kids cry for their mother, there's nothing else in the universe you can give them. I remember I had an experience when I was a child also. I was at the Melbourne show with my parents. I guess I was probably about 5 or 6 or something like that. I was quite young. And I got separated from my parents. And, I was enjoying it for a while. I thought it was pretty cool, because I didn't have my parents telling me what to do. But then after a while I realised that, I was only about this big, and like everyone's sort of up there, and I'm walking around like in the jungle sort of thing, And then I started to realise that I was on my own. And I think I started to feel hungry or something like that, And then I started to cry. And I was just crying and crying and crying. And then someone found me, and they took me to the police station. At the Royal Melbourne show, they had like a temporary police station. And so they took me there, and like I was still crying. And the police lady, she's trying to pacify me. She's giving me ice cream and all this sort of stuff. And I'm eating the ice cream, but I'm still crying. But then, as soon as they found my parents, because I was crying for my parents, I just wanted to be with my parents. And as soon as they found my parents came there, I became satisfied. So it means like, in a situation like that, you can see that nothing satisfies you. Nothing will satisfy you in this world except this connection with Krishna. So if we can have that same kind of faith in the holy name, that nothing in this material world is going to alleviate the suffering of this world except the holy name. how will we take to the holy name? How will we chant the holy name? We'll chant it like our life depends upon it, because it does. But at this point, at least I can say for myself, I don't chant like that. For me, it's more a numbers thing. You know, I get the numbers done. I've done my 16 rounds. It needs to be much, much more than that. It needs to be like, this is what my life depends upon. And without the holy name, I'm lost. But every aspect of bhakti is like that, you know. Without, you know, the service of Krishna, without the association of devotees, we're lost. We need to develop that enthusiasm, develop that faith, develop that conviction. That's, you know, an important part of the process of bhakti. Okay. Anything else at all? Okay. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Nityanand Prabhu ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.